Good evening and welcome to the Twiggs County Board of Education meeting. Thank you to all of our in-person, those out in the audience for being here, and our online communities and stakeholders for joining us this evening. It is my pleasure to call the Twiggs County Board of Education meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, August the 8th, and the time is 6:01. Let's all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. I will now entertain a motion to approve the agenda for Tuesday, August the 8th, 2023.
I move that motion. Second.
Okay. The motion to approve the agenda for Tuesday, August the 8th, 2023 has been properly made by Ms. Blackshear and second by Ms. King. Is there any discussion? The question is on the adoption of the motion to approve the agenda for Tuesday, August the 8th, 2023. All in favor, say yes or raise your hand. The motion passes unanimously. You all have the minutes and had opportunity to look at them for July the 25th. Are there any corrections?
Correction on the date.
Okay, it's a correction on the date. Oh, yeah. Correction noted, July 225. All right, correction noted. All right, so the minutes stand approved with the correction to the date. And if there are no other further corrections, then the minutes are approved. At this time, we have the ethics statement from Ms. Blackshear.
Thank you. In accordance with regulations set forth by the Georgia Ethics Commission, it is the duty of every board member to avoid both conflicts of interest and interest of such conflict. Does any board member have any known conflict of interest? Seeing none, Mr. Chair, we will proceed with our agenda.
All right, thank you. At this time, we have Ms. Stanley, who would like to introduce or whatever. Ms. Stanley, according to board policy, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good evening, board chair, board members, Dr. Bullard, school staff, and community members. I stand before you to bring to you very exciting news. I present to some and introduce to others the Strike Force Cobra Booster Club. We have the same mission and vision as the school. It's important to us to be able to help the students to be successful. We as a community want to partner with the school to be a needed resource. Tonight I have with me some of the Booster Club, the officers. So over here is Ms. Sharon Glover. She's the president. Right here is Ms. Carr. She is the treasurer, and I am the secretary. And Jessica Wimberly, she is the vice president. We have been present in the community and have had a great turnout at open house and other events that we have had. We would like to thank you, Dr. Bullard, Dr. Simmons, as well as Ms. Renata Woodley for being a part of the initial organization of our Booster Club. We would love to have your continued support. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see. Next, board, comments from the board. I'd like to express my appreciation to Mr. Rouse for handling things in my absence and moving the meeting along. And so, thank you very much, Mr. Rouse.
You're welcome, sir.
Are there any other comments from the board?
I would just like to say thank you, Booster Club, for coming up doing the presentation. We're glad to have you partner with us. Thank you.
I'd like to say thank you to the Booster Club. Also like to say thank you to the administrative staff of Twiggs County Public Schools. To Dr. Bullock, I'd like to say thank you. And the only thing I want to say, when it started raining tonight, my mind went back to protection for the Jeffersonville Elementary School, for the kids and the staff that has to get the car riders out. I talked to, me and Dr. Bullock had a conversation about it last year. We got another school turn, and we see how the weather already done started. So it's good we wouldn't get out of cars to get into the school this morning like it is now. So, but I'm quite sure we're working on that, right, Dr. Bullock? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rouse. Any other comments?
One other thing I want to say, I hope everyone have a great school year. We're glad that we're back in. So I hope we have a great, successful year. I know we will, so thank you. We appreciate you all.
And I second that. This time we have comments from the superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Board Chair, Vice Chair Rouse. We definitely are working on that project and board members. All of our constituents that are with us tonight. We have had a great opening of school in Twiggs County this year, and we want to thank all of our parents, all of our community members and stakeholders for making sure the students were school ready. We had a great open house as well, and we opened school this year with an enrollment larger than we ended last year with 760 students. That's almost 30 students more than we have ended school with, and we are just into day number 2. So we are proud of that, and that speaks well of all of the hard work of our administration, our teachers, especially our teachers, and the support staff that support them all, bus drivers, student nutrition. The school district has worked very hard, and as a result, the community support and the community commitment for our school district continues to grow. So I want to say thank you for everyone for a great opening of school. Also, want to turn it over this time to Dr. Griffin Stewart and to Ms. Dot Seekers. They're going to do a presentation tonight in terms of a celebration for our Gold Certified Leadership Academy. And I'll turn it over to Dr. Griffin Stewart.
Good afternoon, Chair Karstoffen, Vice Chair Rouse, board members, Superintendent Dr. Mac Bullard, all of our stakeholders in person and virtually. It brings me great pleasure to recognize a special group of educators today. But before we can recognize those educators, we are a district with a vision and a mission. Our vision is generating excellence, one team, one goal. Our mission is to inspire, challenge, and prepare all students to compete globally. During the 2022-23 school year, Ms. Dot Seekers and I had the pleasure of hosting the Twiggs County Schools' first cohort of the Gold Leaders Academy. These were our certified staff members. This was truly a great opportunity to develop leaders in our district. Participants in the Gold Leaders Academy had an opportunity to develop leadership principles around instructional and organizational effectiveness, along with developing strategies and ways to build a positive culture and climate in the schools. The Gold Leaders Academy consisted of teachers, our previous athletic director, and assistant principals. Leaders had training based on the Leader Keys evaluation system And some of the standards we focused on, these are just some, not all, is culture and climate, instructional leadership, and how to promote community engagement. Participants engage in a book study on the book Lead Like a Pirate, and they share practical principles leaders must employ to build a healthy culture and climate in schools. So it starts with building a healthy culture and climate. Our culminating activity, the principals from surrounding counties served on a principal panel where they responded to questions from our very own Twigs Gold Leaders cohort in preparation for helping them one day serve in the capacity of superintendent, assistant superintendent, principal, assistant principal, or any other leadership opportunity in the future. We want to congratulate you this evening, Gold Leaders, for a job well done. Today, our cohort participants will receive a certificate of recognition and bracelet for their dedicated participation in the Gold Leaders Academy cohort during the 2022-2023 school year. So when you hear your name called, please come forward. Miss Brittany Anderson. Miss Anderson? Uh-oh, I've been calling you Brittany for, Brandy Anderson. I'm sorry. Excuse me, I stand to be corrected. Miss Brandy Anderson. Miss Anderson. So the next name, I hope I have it correct, Miss Angie Boston. Mrs. Angie Boston, come forward. Mrs. Mia Hunt. Mr. Brandon Sanders. Mrs. Lisa Smith. Mrs. Christy Williams. Mrs. Renata Woodley. So again, Gold Leaders Academy participants, I want to thank you for participating last year. Our district will continue to develop and grow stronger because we are definitely developing our leaders, because it's all about developing the next generation of leaders who will take the baton when we start moving on. And that's very important that we develop our leaders so we can continue to develop the Twigs County Public School District. So let's give our participants another round of applause. As you get ready to move to your seats, participants, I want to just say thank you for being just a great example of leadership. We learned a lot together, and I'm sure we have more to learn together. So thank you again. So at this time, to culminate, board members and our stakeholders, we have a really brief, short PowerPoint presentation to share, and this captures some of the learning and growth that occurred during our Gold Leaders Academy last year. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Bullard.
Mr. Chair, I turn it back over to you.
And to the graduates, congratulations. At this time, we will turn our attention to the business agenda. We have two action items, and then we have several information items. The first action item is district requests with Dr. Bullock.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chair, Vice Chair, board members, we do have field trips and a few fundraisers requests to present for your approval on tonight. The field trip requests largely are all from our Future Farmers of America club and organization. They're presenting to us on tonight their full fall calendar of events for your approval, as well as two of their fundraisers for the school year. Starting with Tuesday, September the 12th, Future Farmers of America, led by our agricultural teacher, Ms. Morgan Robinson, will be taking that club to the Georgia National Fairgrounds, and that is to participate in the Region Rally in Perry, Georgia, Friday and Saturday, the 22nd and 23rd of September. The Future Farmers of America will go to Camp John Hope for the Georgia FFA Discovery Conference. Then on Thursday, the 28th, they'll return to Camp John Hope in Fort Valley for the Central Region Career Development Event for agriculture for the state of Georgia. In October, on October the 10th, which is Tuesday, club will go to the Georgia National Fairgrounds in Perry, Georgia for the Future Farmers of America Day at the fair. Followed by the 18th, which is a Wednesday, they will participate in the Georgia Sun Belt Expo, which is in Moultrie, Georgia. They'll travel to the Sun Belt Agricultural Expo there on Thursday, the 9th of November. They'll return to Camp John Hope for the Central Region's, again, Career Development Event. On the 30th as well for the Career Region Career Development Event. And on the 9th of December, they travel to Abraham Baldwin Agricultural College for the Georgia State Career Development. Fundraisers that they'd like to ask your permission and approval on is for the fall, August through October. They'd like to raise funds by selling fruit, Florida Indian River Groves fruit fundraiser. They raise those funds in order to participate, in the FFA state events, conventions, career development events, help to pay and defray the cost of the trips, and for snacks for the club members as they travel. And also from September of 2023 through April of 2024, they'd like to sell meat sticks as a fundraiser, again, for those very same items. And finally, on Wednesday, October the 4th, our very own Strike Force Booster Club would like to sponsor a fundraising activity in order to raise funds for all of the student athletes at the Twiggs County Middle High School by having an alumni basketball game. Boy, oh boy, they're going to pack the house out with that one. So these are the fundraisers and field trips that we ask your approval on tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Bullard. Any questions? I will now entertain a motion to approve the district request.
I move the motion to approve the fundraiser request for the field trips and the fundraiser for the district request.
Second.
All right, the motion to approve the district requests have been properly made by Ms. Blackshear and second by Mr. Rouse. Is there any discussion? The question is on the adoption of the motion to approve the district request. All in favor, raise your hand or say yes. The motion passes unanimously. Okay. Our next action item will be presented by Mr. Tyrone Bacon, Security Vestibules.
Good evening, Board Chair Christoffen, Vice Chair Rouse, Superintendent Bullard, our audience, and staff. Tonight, I'd like to present to you for action secure vestibules. But first, I'd like to remind everybody that we are a school system with a vision, generating excellence, one team, one goal, with the mission to inspire, challenge, and prepare all of our students to compete globally. This project aligns to our strategic focus areas 1 and 2. 1, learning and wellness for all, and 2, excellence ahead, academics, facilities, and opportunity. What is a secure vestibule? The secure vestibules will function as a transitional area between the public spaces like the main office, reception location, or the interior of the building. They act as a barrier to unwanted entry into areas occupied by students and staff, ensuring their security. The vestibules will be first line of defense in keeping our students safe, as well as providing extra time for law enforcement to respond to any potential dangerous situation. The plan. The plan is to install a secure vestibule at each school, allowing controlled access to student-populated areas. Once approved by the Board of Education, the vestibules will take approximately 8 weeks to source and install. The vestibules will feature shatter-resistant glass as well as electronic access controls. Glass was chosen because it will still allow visibility of student movement and light to flow throughout the building. As you can see, there's a diagram for Jeffersonville Elementary School, and as well as one in the middle high school. After discussing the location with the principals pretty in depth, we'll be changing kind of the locations for that we think will provide more safety and more security for each one of those students, student populations. The cost and the budget. The cost to install 2 secure vestibules, including locks and access control. Middle high school, $24,453. Jeffersonville Elementary School, $29,000. The budget for this project will be funded by the safety grant that was awarded to schools by Governor Deal in FY23. Are there any questions?
So, as somebody enters, say, Jeffersonville Elementary,
Yes, sir.
there'll be a glass.
Right. So you will walk through the regular steel doors. There'll be an area, let's call it about 10 feet. We were going to do it further, but the principals at both schools thought it would be better to bring it up closer before the first office door. So it'd be about 10 to 15 feet, and then it would be the glass storefront, and then intercom for you to get into the building, to the remaining of the building.
Any other questions?
Why is elementary more expensive?
Yes, ma'am. If you notice the diagram, there's more height that we will have to go all the way to the ceiling in elementary. In the ceiling at the middle high school in the entry area is considerably smaller.
I know it's been funded by the state, by the government, the safety grant. But you have to get someone to come, who would be installed? We got someone at the school, or we're gonna have someone to come out and do it? Or-
Yes, of course. This is something that we cannot do. In the past, all of our locks and things like that have been done by Locksmith Associates. We hope that they're competitive, because we don't like our locks, keys, and lock access to be done by several vendors. We'd like to keep that with the same vendor, if possible.
Any other questions? other questions, then I will entertain a motion to approve the secure vestibules.
I made that motion, Chairman.
Okay. Okay, the motion to approve the secure vestibules has been properly made by Mr. Rouse and second by Ms. Stokes. Is there any discussion? The question is on the adoption of the motion to approve the security vestibules. All in favor, say yes or raise your hand. The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Board.
Next, we have several information items. Will be presented by Mr. Seekers and Ms. Reeve. So, Mr. Seekers.
Good evening, Board Chair Karstafen, Vice Chair Rouse, board members, Dr. Bullard, to all of our constituents in person and those online. I'd like to share some information with you about an organization called Soliant. First, we are a district with a vision, which is generating excellence, one team, one goal. And of course, our mission is to inspire, challenge, and prepare all students to compete globally. Now, when we discuss Soliant, you will see that by talking about Soliant, we will hit 3 of our strategic goals, which are, number 1, learning and wellness for all. Number 4, growing and help them find jobs across the country. And while the other 2 organizations that we work with bring over international teachers, Soliant recruits all over the United States and helps bring teachers to our area in those hard-to-fill areas. So let's look a minute at who Soliant is. They have been around for decades. They have a very long track record for delivering staffing services, not only to the field of, not only to the medical field, but also to some of the largest school districts in the nation across the 50 states. This will allow us as Twiggs County to increase our footprint and be able to recruit across the country for special ed teachers. Now, what I have found when I've been talking to Soliant is that not only are these teachers certified in one state, they are often certified in more, including Georgia. As you can see, they are cross-trained. A lot of the consultants that they work with and recruit are cross-trained, whether it's in the field of nursing or whether it's in the field of education. They often, like I mentioned, have certification in several states. They may also have certification not only in special ed, but in elementary. They will have the adapted special ed certification, the general special ed certification. So what is included when we work with Soliant? Basically, Soliant works as a staffing partner with us. They provide us with an hourly rate that is all-inclusive. This hourly rate that they bill us for includes the price that they have in order to provide retirement to teachers, medical, dental, vision. They provide the workers' comp. They provide all of the time tracking, drug screening, payroll taxes, background check, liability insurance. These hourly rates are based on the teacher's potential salary on our pay scale, but we are not responsible for the added funds that we often have to pay to the state, along with what the teacher pays, along with TRS. We are not responsible for paying that portion of TRS that we would often pay if we hired the teacher ourselves. The teacher does fill out a timesheet each week. We sign off on that timesheet. That timesheet is turned into Soliant. The teacher is not paid over holidays, is not paid over any type of break, and so it becomes a little bit of a cost savings to us as well. The contract agreement is very similar to the contract we would enter into with the teacher, except Soliant enters into the agreement with them for the length of 1 school year. Okay? So this is just going to be a great way for us to help fill some of these harder to fill positions, especially in the special ed arena, and will provide us a lot more opportunity to find these candidates. Anybody have any questions?
So, I know we do have recruitment fairs, y'all still got that going?
Yes.
And we still have our media specialists going, that's helped.
Absolutely.
with the
Absolutely.
advertising. So, how's that going? Not
We,
with the media specialist, because I do see what she's doing, we talked about that
Yeah.
last meeting.
Yeah.
But with the recruitment, with the fairs that's going on, how's that?
we are getting ready to start up for this year. There will be a few in the fall. And then, of course, the majority of those fairs start in the winter. What we have seen traditionally and historically over the past 4 to 5 years is that the number of candidates that we actually see coming out of the university systems in the Southeast is drastically smaller than what we have seen in the past. And so what we are finding is, I'm not sure if you heard the news article the other day on Channel 13, but what we are finding is that all school districts are now, when we go out and recruit, we're going after the same people, okay? And so when you start looking at some of these harder to fill areas, like some of these special ed positions, it makes it that much more difficult to try to find those candidates. And with a special ed teacher, you have to be very careful to make sure that they have the right credentials to be in that classroom. Not only are we governed by the state, but we're governed by federal guidelines when it comes to that. That is not an area that we can even waive, if you will, when we have a teacher in those classrooms. We are required by law to make sure that they have the appropriate certification to be working with those students. And so this organization allows us to really expand across the country. For example, I talked to a candidate 2 days ago in Texas who is certified in North Carolina, Texas, Virginia, and Georgia. And he is actually getting ready to move back to Georgia. And we probably would have never had the opportunity to even talk to him, except that I had been in conversation with Soliant about the opportunities that they would have available.
I understand you saying that this company is statewide. I mean, whole United States.
Nationwide. Mm-hmm.
Right, nationwide.
Mm-hmm.
And we also know it's a shortage of educators,
Sure.
the whole United States.
Mm-hmm.
So how this gonna really actually benefit us when it's like a competition, like competing?
Mm-hmm.
I can't understand that because everybody needs teachers. So
Right.
do we have initial startup costs for this?
There is actually no initial startup cost.
Okay.
They just bill us the hourly rate. A lot of times, and the people I've been talking with, there's an office in Atlanta, okay? And so what they find is there may be teachers that have, for whatever reason, moved across the country but are getting ready to move back home. And they will often reach out to this type of agency, like a staffing agency, to help them find a place to go. Whereas rather than going in and trying to search through 159 counties in the state of Georgia, they will reach out to this staffing agency and say, look, I'm certified in Virginia, I'm certified in South Carolina, my home is in Georgia, I have certification in Georgia. Do you have any school districts that are interested in contracting with you to hire? So there's no kind of startup cost.
But there is gonna be a cost hourly.
Yes, yes. Now, when we talked about KRG and Entourage with the international teachers, there was, I think it was a $10,000 fee. And included in that was the sponsorship, all of the things they had to do to sponsor. And if you remember, it took that cost off of us because we don't pay the payroll taxes. We don't pay that additional TRS retirement funding, which is 19% now. Isn't that right, Mr. Austin? We pay whatever a teacher puts in, we pay an additional 19% of that teacher's salary to TRS to supplement, okay? We pay workers' comp taxes. We pay an additional amount for every teacher when they get insurance. You know, what our teachers see is a very small portion of what insurance actually costs. So it's going to work out the same with this company because they are going to be paying all of those fees, whereas we don't have those hidden costs that we would often pay that some teachers don't even realize we are paying.
So there's no way that they have that figured into the hourly rate, any kind of way to make the adjustment for them to do that?
They do have that figured in. I asked that question, and they couldn't even give me that answer until we find out what the teacher's salary is. We have to look at how many years of experience that teacher has. We have to look at their certification, what their degree level is, because all of those things determine what that teacher's salary would be on the salary scale for the state. And then once we look at what that is, then they would tell me what that hourly rate is.
And I know you said it's a lot of competition, you know, and I understand that.
Oh,
But with our recruitment team, they have hands-on, you know, they see who they're getting, you know, they know.
sure,
So,
sure. We do have the opportunity to meet with these candidates. We can interview them via Zoom. We actually did that the other day with a candidate who was in a hotel in Texas. So it's not just them sending us someone. We also have the opportunity to interview them and talk with them and get their background and find out all of their information as well. Okay.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Are we in need of a teacher that's special needs?
Yes.
How many?
Right now, we need one at the elementary school, and it is in a classroom that requires someone with specialty training. Mm-hmm.
How are we going to finance this?
Ma'am?
How are we going to finance this?
It would be very much like us paying a teacher, except the organization would bill us for the hourly rate. So it's not like we would have to pay them a fee before we ever get the teacher. We do not pay them until they bill us that hourly rate. They pay the teacher their salary with an additional amount attached to that would help pay them, okay? Their teachers get paid weekly. And again, their teachers are only paid for the hours they work. So for example, if we had a teacher that was here and let's say they took Friday off, okay, or they were sick, they would not bill us for that Friday because that teacher did not work. So if they worked 8 hours, for 4 days, they would bill us for the 32 hours that week rather than 40.
They would also not be paid during the holiday breaks and all of that
Correct,
stuff.
correct. They are not paid over any holidays, any breaks. At the end of the year in May, that stops. And then they are not paid during the summer.
Now, I was at the University of Alabama's graduation this past weekend. And what they had, they called out the different degrees and had the people stand. When they called out the education degrees, I was shocked.
Yes,
I think maybe 10 people stood up.
yes.
And that was a huge graduation class.
I'll give you an example. I used to go to Valdosta State every year, still do. It used to be one of the best. I would see over 100 this past year. That's all. And neither one of them were graduated. So the tide is shifting in how we recruit and what our teachers look like. A lot of them are second career or going into it through an alternative route. So we're having to become very creative in the way that we recruit. It's no longer, I'm going to go to the college and I'm going to put on a happy face and I'm going to have all this pretty stuff. Come see me. Now we are in competition selling our district with 159 other districts across the state. So we have to be creative in the things that we do to fill our vacancies.
Thank you, Mr. Sue.
I got one more question for us. It might not be directed to you, but I recall when Dr. Bullock first got hired and we was talking about teachers. He had a plan where he said, remember Bullock plan? You remember you had that one? How that working?
Our master teacher program,
We actually do have a teacher right now that is an intern teacher, and our master teacher works with her every day. She is actually almost through with her program. So, and that is something that we can continue to use as we go and as we recruit. Now, we have been, we have been very blessed this year in that we were able to fill a majority of our vacancies. In fact, when I spoke with you last time, I thought we had all of our vacancies filled, including this one that I'm mentioning now. And so now we are back to, we've got to find something. We've got to find someone that is properly credentialed that can go in there and work with those students, because they deserve just as much as any of those other students in all those other classrooms.
And unlike other teachers, special education, they got, like you mentioned, they got federal guidelines, they have, in addition to the state guidelines.
Yes.
Where you, so you can't do that bringing somebody from another field and
Correct.
doing what you're doing there. They have to have certain qualifications.
And they often have to have some medical training.
Exactly. So that's a different animal.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr.
Okay,
Cephas.
thank you.
Ms. Reardon?
We might need a tent. I'm kidding. Good evening, Board Chair Karstafen, Vice Chair Rouse, board members, Superintendent Dr. Bullard, and our stakeholders. Tonight, the first presentation will be on the milestone data. Those were embargoed until about a week and a half ago, and so now they are released to the public. The schools have had the data for quite some time to be able to study and be prepared for summer school and be prepared for this upcoming school, but they could not be released to the public until now. We are a district with a vision, generating excellence, one team, one goal. And our mission is to inspire, challenge, and prepare all students to compete globally. As we embark on this presentation tonight, we will be focusing on our strategic plan focus areas. 1, learning and wellness for all. 2, excellence ahead, academics, facilities, and opportunities. And we're going to be talking about our district improvement goal 1, and that's something we'll discuss in the next presentation to define that for you. As we begin this presentation, you have had this data in front of you for about a week and a half to review. So tonight I want to make sure that you are aware of what the data represents and answer any questions that you might have and explain some things and point out some things for you. First of all, our goal is to reduce the number of students who are beginning learners. That's what you see in the red. The gold represents our developing learners. Then our final goal is to get our students to proficiency, which is what is in green. And then it is thrilling to us to have a student who is in the distinguished level, which you see represented by the blue. When the state reports proficiency levels, what they're doing is taking the percentage of students who are in the green. So let's look at third grade. Third grade, we saw a slight increase in those who were in the beginning learners category, but we saw a major decrease in those who are in the developing category. Where did those students go? They grew. They grew to the proficient category up at the top, the 25, and then the distinguished category of 6%, to have an overall increase in proficiency in third grade ELA of 16%. Our goal was to increase by 3. They increased by 16% proficiency. That is amazing. When we look at fourth grade, we're seeing an increase in those who were in the beginning learner, a slight increase in those who were in the developing learner. We saw a decrease in proficient and distinguished. However, we cannot lose hope looking at that data, because I need to remind you that these are not the same students. 2022 students are not the same students as 2023. You're comparing apples to oranges. But that's what the state looks at, so that's what we want to report as the data. What I want you to look at is look at the first two graph lines where it says third grade 2022. Those students left third grade and went to the next line, which is fourth grade 2023. Now let's look at what those students have done. The beginning learners stayed about the same, but we saw a decrease in our, let me repeat that. The beginning learners stayed about the same, but we saw a decrease in those in the developing. Where did they go? They went into proficient and into distinguished, to have an overall increase in proficiency rate of the same group of students from third grade graduating up to fourth grade, of an increase in proficiency of 7%. Our goal, remember, was 3%. So we doubled what we were looking for in increasing our proficiency rate. So that gives you an idea of what all of these graphs are going to look like. So I'm going to go a lot faster through all the next ones because I only have 7 minutes for this presentation. So you've had the data for quite some time. Let's look quickly at the fifth grade before we go on to the next slide. Fifth grade ELA, we saw a large decrease in those in the beginning learner category, which is exactly what we want to see. We have a smaller group of those in the developing, but let's look at the proficient and the distinguished. We have a significant increase. You put the two together, and we have an increase in proficiency rate of 20% in fifth grade. Now, I want you to see what that means for our district compared to the other counties in our RESA. There are 8 counties in our RESA, Middle Georgia RESA, and the state. So we have a 41% proficiency rate in fifth grade ELA compared to the other 8 counties surrounding us. We are above them. And then when you look at the state, we're only 1 percentage point away from the entire state of Georgia in our proficiency rate in fifth grade. This is those top 2 categories combined to give us those proficiency rates. That's wonderful. Then let's go to math. Math was, you remember, were one of the areas where we were focusing on. We still have work to do in math, but you can see the gains. You see the red has decreased in all 3 grade levels represented here. We have increases in the proficiency in those who are in the proficient. In science, they were really rocking it out in the fifth grade in science last year. We had 42% in our beginning learners, and that decreased to 30, which is exactly where we wanted to go. We had 31 in developing, which decreased to 20. We want the green and the blue to increase, and it went from 28% to 43%. And 0 distinguished last year to now we have 7% of our students. That's not 7 students, that's 7% of our students with an increase of 22% proficiency. And then when you take that and compare it to our RESA in our state, our system has 50% proficiency rate in fifth grade science compared to 38 and 40% for the RESA and the state. That is amazing, fifth grade. They are to be commended for the work that they have done. And again, we're moving on to middle school. We see some increases in middle school with an increase in the overall proficiency rate in ELA sixth grade of 7%. We stayed about the same in seventh grade, and then we had an increase of 10%. Now remember, these lines are representing 2 different groups of students being compared to each other. When you look from one grade band to the next, which is where the growth occurs, you can see the growth occurring. For example, the sixth grade going to seventh grade, you see that we had an increase there. So that's really, as you have time to take this back home and look at it again with this information, you can really see the growth that our students have had. And then going on to math, which was our biggest struggle that we had coming into this past school year, you see that there were an overall proficiency rate increase of 1, 2, and 5% across those 3 grade bands. When you move to 8th grade science and social studies, again, you don't have the ability to compare from one year to the next to track the students because they don't test in 6th grade and 7th grade. They don't test in science and social studies. So the first time they tested is in 8th grade for social studies. It's the very first time they're tested. And in science, they haven't tested since 5th grade. So when you look at this, we see a 6% increase in proficiency in science and a 4% increase in proficiency in social studies overall. Then you move to high school. And in high school, you have 4 different content areas you're looking at. Again, it's 2 different groups of students, so it's difficult to completely compare. You would really have to get into the data really deep to see the growth that occurs. But we still have growth that you can see on this, an increase in American Lit of 12% overall proficiency rate. Algebra 1 stayed about the same, but remember, we are trying to decrease this red, and we decrease this red significantly by almost 10 percentage points, this red that's going on here. So there is growth within this, even though the proficiency rate is not showing it. Biology, we had an increase. And then U.S. history, we had a loss of 10%, but as all of you know, there have been some changes that we have made in U.S. history. Curriculum changes, we have made some staffing changes, and we expect some great gains in social studies for next year for U.S. history. The next slide that you see, this is our balanced scorecard, just the milestones portion of the balanced scorecard. What you see here are all of the tests that were taken by our students in the first column, then the percent in 22, this is what the proficiency rate was for each one of those assessments in 2022. Then the next line is what our goal was, which was typically a 3% increase. The one that's color-coded is telling you, did we meet our goal? If we met our goal of a 3% increase or more, and most of these are more than 3%, it is in green. If we increased but did not meet our goal, it is in yellow. And if we did not grow, if we did not have growth, if it declined or stayed the same, it is in red. So you see the majority, the vast majority of what we did this past school year is in green. When you compare us to the state, they don't have as much green as we have in most schools. So I'm very proud of the work that we have done at JES, at Twiggs County Middle School, and Twiggs County High School. They are working really hard, and we expect to see even greater gains this school year. We're already headed that direction. Do you have any questions? A lot of numbers.
So when we're looking at the elementary school, you're doing the 3rd grade 2022. Oh, excuse me. 3rd grade 2022 to the 4th grade 2023. That's what you compare.
Are you talking about ELA?
Well, any of them in the elementary school, you have the right now I'm looking at ELA.
Okay, so in ELA, the first 2 lines is comparing ELA 2023 and ELA 2022.
Correct.
Which is 2 different groups of students.
Right, but the same students would be 22 to 3rd grade 22, 4th grade 23.
2023, right.
That's
So
what we're
so
looking
the
at.
line, the
Okay.
second line and the third line that you see are the same groups. It's
Gotcha.
the same students.
Okay, thank you. I need to know that. Thank you.
And on the CCRPI, we will be rated according to this data, but there is a small portion of it, if it's to be included this year, which it has not been included in the last couple of years because we couldn't compare one year to the next due to the pandemic. It is possible that that will come back, that you will then add in not only what our percentage rate is, but also what the growth rate is another part of CCRPI on a normal basis. The pandemic kind of changed that a little bit, so we're still waiting to see what that's going to look like. When that time comes, I'll make sure that I explain to you exactly what they are looking at.
In the high school, they just do the algebra in the 9th grade. They take
Sir, say that one more
The
time.
high school, they take that algebra test in the ninth grade.
Yes, sir. That's the only test that they take now. They used to take the
Okay.
Algebra 1 test and geometry, and they no longer take geometry. They only take Algebra 1.
Thank you.
They also used to take ninth grade lit and American lit. Now it's only American lit. They used to take U.S. history and economics. Now it's just U.S. history. And then they used to take biology and physical science, and now it's just biology.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Okay, you're still up.
I'm still up. That's right. And our vision and mission is still the same.
Thank you.
So I'm going to go to our strategic plan focus area. We're going to be talking about the CLIP, the Consolidated LEA Improvement Plan, which is what are we going to do to improve these scores even further? When I sent the packets out to you, that really big 98-page document in front of you, the kind of greenish yellow one, that's what we're talking about. That's the CLIP. The strategic plan focus areas are all 5 of them: learning and wellness for all, excellence ahead, academics, facilities, and opportunities. Number 3, doing things the Twiggs way. Number 4, growing and sustaining our village. Number 5, a premier people first organization. And district improvement goals 1, 2, and 3, because that document in front of you houses the district improvement goals. So what is the CLIP, the Consolidated LEA Improvement Plan? Some call it the Consolidated Application, because this is what we have to fill out. This is what I fill out in order to get all of our federal dollars that we have. So that document in front of you is what allows us to get our Title I, our Title II, Title IV, and Title V dollars. It is required by the Elementary and Secondary Act of 1965, which was amended by the Every Student Succeeds Act, also called the ESSA, of 2015. The CLIP, which is the Consolidated LEA Improvement Plan, is required to define how the LEA, the local education agency, us, that's Twiggs County Public Schools, how we will support our students when receiving federal funds. It is comprised of the comprehensive needs assessment, which is the first half of those 98 pages that you have. It also includes the parent and family engagement policy. We also have to include the foster care transportation plan within this, and then those schools who receive Title I Part C, which is neglected and delinquent facilities, which we do not have one in Twiggs County, so we are not eligible for Title I Part C. So we do not receive those funds. Part of the CLIP is that the LEA will monitor the progress of all of our action steps. This is also monitored at the school level for their school improvement plans. That 98-page document in front of you is comprised of pages 2 through 6 are all the stakeholders throughout the year that we have worked with, talked with through town hall meetings, meetings with you as the board, meetings with parent groups, student groups, teacher groups, all throughout the year. A lot of parent groups, different types of parents that we've worked with, all our stakeholders. Those are listed on pages 2 through 6. Then on pages 7 through 28 is a data analysis. Then on pages 29 through 49, that's where we identify the needs that we have in the district, and we find out what is the root cause of the issues that we are having. Then the improvement plan with the goals for the district, how are we going to improve things in the district, and the action steps that go with those are on pages 51 through 71. And then there's a whole set of required questions that we have to answer on pages 73 to 93. This document for the stakeholders is located on the district website under the Federal Programs tab. So you can go in and at your leisure read all 98 pages if you would really like to. That's those nights when you just can't go to sleep. So the goals that we have are Goal 1, By the end of the 2023-2024 school year, we will increase the number of students scoring at a proficient or distinguished level on the GMAS, which is the Georgia Milestones Assessments, by 3%. We really want to do more than that. This is what we're required to put, is a 3% minimum. So we put the 3%, but that's also because it covers all content areas, and some areas are going to be more difficult to get an increase than other areas, but it includes all content areas in this 3%. So that's what I was talking about when I referenced the goals. This is one of the goals. There's a number, I think it's 7 action steps to that goal in your document that you have in front of you. Goal number 2, Twiggs County Public Schools will improve the number of students absent by 5% district-wide, and will decrease that to 80% as defined by the Georgia Department of Education and measured by monthly instructional framework walkthroughs with a focus of proficiency during the 2023-2024 school year. So these 3 goals are: 1, we're looking to increase our student achievement on those milestones assessments. We are looking to improve our attendance. We are looking to improve our discipline, improve our engagement of our students, and improve instruction in the classroom. Those are all embedded in those action steps for those 3 goals. Then on top of that, those 98 pages, each school has their own plan, which is a school improvement plan. They developed their own school improvement plan. During the data retreats that we had back in June, the schools met to determine their own unique needs, goals, and action steps, and those will also be monitored for progress. Are there any questions?
I would just like to say, with I know you said that you're trying to increase the student achievement and increase with the teachers. Would there be like an incentive that you can give to help motivate them to?
That's all embedded in those action steps that you have in front of you. I just couldn't go through all those action steps in my 7 minutes that I have.
Okay, that's good. Good.
Yes. You ready? This is the last one. Tonight, I'm going to talk about the Cognia Engagement Review. Again, our vision, generating excellence with one team, one goal, and our mission to inspire, challenge, and prepare all students to compete globally. Do we do this? Our strategic plan focus areas are: 1, learning and wellness for all; 2, excellence ahead, academics, facilities, and opportunities; 3, doing things the Twiggs way; 4, growing and sustaining our village; 5, a premier people-first organization; and all 3 of our district improvement goals. And what are we doing? We made it. Twiggs County Public Schools has earned full accreditation. We've worked really, really hard over the past couple of years. For those of you who don't know, we used to have SACS accreditation back in the day, and then that turned into Advanced Ed, and then that turned into Cognia. And so now we are at Cognia, so we are fully accredited with what used to be SACS and then Advanced Ed, and now it's Cognia. This accreditation now, instead of lasting 5 years, lasts for 6 years, so it will be 6 years going forward. But the new thing that's added to it is in the middle of that, there will be times when they come back in to check your progress. So they have steps that they want to see progress in, and they come back to hold you accountable for those steps of progress in that. What you have before you is the engagement review, the total document, but I'm going to hit the highlights for you. So accreditation is continuous improvement. It's not just a point in time where we do a whole bunch of stuff over a few months and throw all these documents at them and hope they won't read them so they'll accredit us. That's not what accreditation is. It is continuous improvement. Cognia defines continuous improvement as an embedded behavior rooted in an institution's culture that that constantly focuses on conditions, processes, and practices to improve teaching and learning. So again, the focus is on teaching and learning, student achievement. The findings of the team are organized into 5 sections in the document you have in front of you. And for the stakeholders, this document is also under the Federal Programs tab on the website, and you can read the whole document. The findings are organized into 5 sections: the cognitive performance standards, the assurances, the insights from the review, the summary of findings that includes noteworthy practices and areas for improvement. Under the evaluation of the institution analysis, it goes through the stakeholder feedback analysis. We do a lot of work, get a lot of input from stakeholders. We have to put it together, analyze that data. We can't just throw a bunch of surveys to them and say, look, we did surveys. We have to go through the surveys and find out what do the surveys tell us and what are we going to do about it. Student performance analysis, constantly going through student data, the milestones data and others. Learning environments analysis, culture of learning, the leadership for learning, engagement of learning, growth in learning. How well did we represent ourselves and analyze our data? That's what those sections are talking about, and that's on pages 4 and 5 in the document you have in front of you. Then on pages 6 through 23 are the performance standards evaluation results. The standards are categorized into 4 areas: the culture of learning standards, leadership for learning standards, engagement of learning standards, growth in learning standards. There are 30 standards altogether, and they define the elements of quality that research indicates is present in an effective institution. The reviewers use a 4-level rubric to indicate the current performance of the institution. And you can see on pages 6 through 23 how we rated on all of those standards. Then on pages 24 through 27, the evaluators engaged in professional discussions among themselves and deliberations about the effectiveness of the processes, the programs, and practices within the institution to arrive at the findings of their report. They were guided by evidence to arrive at findings that will inform our institution's continuous improvement efforts, and the findings are aligned to research-based criteria designed to improve student learning and organizational effectiveness. And then finally, on page 27, Cognia congratulates the Twiggs County School System for its effective and continuous growth, effective leadership, learner-centric decision-making, and its willingness to continuously improve. As the system moves forward, the insights and findings from the report will further leverage those commitments and build upon the strengths of the system. Being awarded grants that are used to provide for learners' well-being and academic as well as non-academic needs. The district strives to provide professional learning that builds staff members' expertise. The strategic plan is the cornerstone of the system's continuous improvement efforts. The governing authority, that's you, board, has been recognized for effective leadership and support of continuous improvement. The system is committed to providing opportunities for leadership development. The district is commended for conducting well-detailed analysis of the current reality of student engagement and for addressing the curriculum areas for improvement through professional learning. The district is commended for setting learning targets and success criteria that have resulted in instruction becoming increasingly differentiated to personalized learning. The district is commended for developing and implementing a data review tool, initiating personalized learning for students, and implementing measures that are expected to increase student engagement. This is just to name a few that are on those pages. And then finally, on page 28, the team that came and did our review had some areas for improvement. They had 3 areas for improvement. Conduct a review of all instructional materials to ensure their alignment with state standards. Evaluate and monitor all instructional programs and organizational conditions to improve instruction, advance learning, and ensure consistency and implementation throughout the system. and develop and implement a plan to proactively determine current and future professional staffing needs as the student and county populations have declined. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Reardon. I'm gonna take some time to digest a lot of this stuff.
It's a lot.
I've been on the road, but I will take the time to digest it, and maybe I'll have some comments at the next meeting.
Sure, anytime.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any comments from the audience? Just a question. Go ahead. Go to the.
Good evening. When they were talking about the Solient Corporation and bringing in
Right.
employees, a question came to my mind, I didn't hear anybody on the board address it, and that was, if that employee, well, sort of a contract employee, I guess, comes to here, and then the following year you wanted to hire that employee into the district, how do you go about doing that? Is there you have to be a contract buyout phase from that company, or do you just open and negotiate with that person? That's question number one. I don't know if you want to answer that, because I've got two.
That was my question too, because I was told that it is a one-year contract. And so if that person chooses to separate with that company, then they could essentially come to work for us. Unless there is a clause in Soliant's agreement that says we have to wait so long. You know, there are some companies that have those type of clauses. You know, I have not seen that in their agreement. So I would hope that we could do that if that person is so choose.
Seems to me like that's a pretty important issue up front to me. If you get a person, they move maybe to this area or at least within a commuting distance, and they like being here, we need to not find out at the end of the year that they can't be hired, you know.
Next question.
So, anyway, next question was, I'd like to have a copy of the performance report. Get that. And then a security question. And I fully agree with what they're proposing to do, or what you approved to do for the entry into the schools. That's probably a minimum. Question I had was, has the school district reached out? I know we have our own police officers now, but has the school district reached out to the Twiggs County Sheriff's Department or the state to do a survey of the campuses to ensure that the access, I know in my own son, and we have three children in education, they've had issues with doors that are open for ventilation. People go out to recess and leave a door open so they can get back in. I would hope that we're having a comprehensive review of every time you hear one of these school things, only one or two of them come through the lobby. Usually they come in a back door or some other way into the school that's unguarded, unlocked, not properly locked. So had that question. Then the other thing is a comment. Monday night, about 60 or 70 of our citizens had the opportunity to do a prayer walk through the elementary school. Absolutely spectacular event, very warming to walk door to door, and my wife and I prayed over each classroom, prayed for the students to be crossing that threshold and the teachers. I want to comment, the school was in beautiful condition. That was great. I would hope that if we can continue that. I know it's hard for the official policy of the school district to understand those requirements. But next time that we can do that, I'd hope that we have some people that are sitting here tonight would be in that group. I was impressed with the number of people, and it was really a wonderful experience. And I know Mr. Carbasnik was going to be there, but he got caught in traffic. So that's it for tonight. That's me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mills. Are there any other questions? Motion to move into executive session. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been properly, the motion has properly been made to move into executive session by Ms. Stokes and second by Ms. Blackshear. Are there any questions? Again, the question is to move into executive session. All in favor, raise your hand and say yes. Motion unanimously approved. We're going to move into executive session, and hopefully we'll be back real soon.
Community members.
At this time, can we get a motion to come back from executive session?
So moved.
Second then.
Okay, so it's been, the motion to approve ending executive session has been properly made by Ms. King and second by Ms. Stokes. Is there any discussion? The question is to close the executive session. All those in favor say yes or raise your hand. Okay, the motion passes unanimously. This time we have a motion for 3 new hires.
I move that motion to approve the 3 new hires.
Can I get a second?
Second.
There has been motion to approve the 3 new hires has been properly made by Ms. Blackshear and second by Mr. Rouse. Are there any questions? Okay, the question is to adopt the motion for the 3 new hires. All in favor, raise your hand or say yes. Motion passes unanimously.
You didn't vote, sir?
Oh, I'm sorry, 4. Say that again. Okay. So the motion passes by a vote of 4-1. Is there any other business that needs to be discussed at this time? If there's no other business, can I get a motion to close for this meeting to end?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All right, there's been motion. The motion to end the meeting has been properly made by Ms. Stokes and second by Mr. Rouse. All in favor say yes or raise your hand. That is unanimous. This meeting is adjourned.